Hello, I'm Professor Glen Vogel. I teach legal studies and business at Hofstra University on Long Island in New York. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about raise your hand, raise your grade. Now, not specifically raise your hand, but this idea of participating in class. So it's important to participate for a number of reasons. And first, let me just say that as a professor, sometimes it's very difficult when we look out and we see an actual sea of empty faces staring back at us to know whether we're connecting or whether students are understanding what it is we're talking about. In the online environment, which many of us are engaged in now, it's even more difficult. Look out at a collection of empty black boxes and have no idea if you're connecting or if people are getting what it is you're saying. Keep in mind, we don't often look at things from the perspective of a student because we're experts in our area that we're teaching. So we feel that everything we're saying should be easily understood, and sometimes we don't realize that a student might be struggling. By raising your hand, it lets us know, hey, we didn't communicate effectively, or maybe it needs to be stated a different way, or maybe I can direct that student to another resource. And by engaging that way, you're helping us, which endears yourself to your professor. And if you endear yourself to your professor, you create a positive image of you in our minds. You also help other colleagues in the class who may share that problem but may be too intimidated or unsure to raise their hand. Now, as far as participating goes, here's a little tip from me. What I do suggest is you get a little sense from the syllabus as to what subjects you're going to be covering and get a little bit of an idea of what's coming. And what you can do is just pop on the internet, do a little research, find an article or find something that's been discussed about that topic. I'll give you an example. So I told you I teach legal studies, so a lot of my subjects have to do with the law. So wouldn't it be good if a student came to my class and raised their hand and said, hey, Professor Vogel, I read in the Wall Street Journal, I read in the New York Times, this particular article about a legal subject, and I was wondering if you had thoughts on it or if in some ways it connects to what we're talking about. Well, you have scored mega bonus points, particularly in my course, because it shows that you're thinking outside of our session about how to engage and how to enhance your own learning experience. Now, as far as participation goes, sometimes it's not as easy to do during the class. So the second alternative is here, go to that professor's office, visit them during their office hours. Or, depending on the circumstance, you may have to Zoom with them. Yes, students have frequently come to me and have not really had much in the way of a question, but more want to engage. And by engaging, it shows again that they're taking their education seriously. Remember, you're investing an awful lot of money in your education and an awful lot of time. And while it's important to enjoy the experience, it's also important to get something, your return on your investment. And if you sit there, what I say, if you suffer in silence, we'll never know. And you're not getting the most value for what you're paying for. So yes, raise your hand. Click the raise your hand feature on Zoom. Go to the professor's office. Engagement is an enormous part of your education. Not only that, it'll give you good training for when you go out into the business world or out into whatever field it is you're going to be pursuing. Practicing that engagement, so when you're starting out and you have issues or questions about how to do your job, you're not intimidated and you've already had the process of going to somebody and asking for some help. Again, raise your hand, raise your grade, but more importantly, raise your engagement. This is Professor Vogel from Hofstra University, the Department for Legal Studies and Business, and I wish you all continued success.